Today I want to talk about some takeaways from Oklahoma's 55-20 victory and what that means for the Sooners, the Big 12, and the national landscape, and all that's coming up after the bumper.
Don't be cornering me. Hold up. Time. You gotta help me with that corner
What's up, kinfolk? It's RJ Young. I am not on Step Mill. Consider hitting the like and subscribe button because I upload a video every single day. So it's college football related, sports related. We have a good time. Today, I want to talk about some takeaways from Oklahoma's 55-20 victory against the Florida Gators. Also, shout out to the squad for doing the Malcolm Kelly rap. If you know, you know. That made so many people happy. My buddy Brett texted me to say, man, I am in tears. And not just because Oklahoma won the first bowl game of my 30s, and I'm 33, turning 34 in 2021, but because the defense was on full display against a Heisman finalist. I cannot underscore this enough. No matter what anybody tells you about Kyle Trask and those receivers that he did not practice with, that he was not familiar with, remind them that he ain't practiced with those Oklahoma DBs either. And they had 3 interceptions in that game, which is huge because that means Oklahoma had back-to-back games with 3 interceptions, one in the Big 12 championship, one in the Cotton Bowl, and my goodness, did we ever see such a game from Tre Norwood. The man out of Fort Smith, Arkansas, stand up, just puts together a season, right? Like 5 interceptions this year, and that is the most since Zach Sanchez had 7 in 2015. Add to that just how disruptive the defensive line and the front 7 were. Brian Asamoah had the best game of his life. Perrion Winfrey is a dude. Isaiah Thomas is a dude. Memorial High School, standing up at Oklahoma. Add to this, Spencer Rattler looked good, but wasn't even like nearly the best player on that football field. That was Ramondre Stevenson, who goes for 186 on 18 carries. Marcus Major has a breakout game with 110 yards on the ground. Oklahoma rushed for 435 yards in this game, looking a lot like a wishbone team against what looked like the JV for Florida, right? But also, you would want to see, yes, Kyle Pitts, Kadarius Toney, Trayvon Grimes joining Kyle Trask against that Oklahoma defense. But it is what it is. One team wanted to play, one team did not. Kyle Trask looked like he wanted to play until after about the first quarter, and then Oklahoma knocks out a Heisman finalist, a guy that's getting invited to the ceremony in the first half. Put him on the bench. Add to that just how good Bill Beatonbow's offensive line looked. It's the best that I've seen them look all season, and we have lots of statistics and results to show for that. But this also is the 3rd straight win for the Big 12 in this 2020 bowl season. Oklahoma State beats Miami in the Cheez-It Bowl, knocked De'Aaron King out of the game, and then we had Tylan Wallace 100%. Well, I shouldn't say knocked De'Aaron King out of the game. De'Aaron King suffered a huge and debilitating knee injury, and none of us wish that on him. It is to say Oklahoma State's defense played really well in that game, with or without De'Aaron King being there for Miami. So I want to back that off. But Texas did beat the hell out of Colorado, right? Bijan Robinson had a game. He also averaged 18 yards per carry, not unlike Ramondre Stevenson. So all of a sudden, it feels like early 21st century Big 12 with running backs being the currency of the day, right? Think about that for a second. We got so used to talking about air raid and pass-happy offenses and putting up like 50 burgers all the time. As a matter of fact, total offense and 50 burgers had been just the currency for Oklahoma because they've averaged better than 40 a game since Lincoln Riley arrived. But this is also a stat coming from OU Sports and Information. In 79 games since the start of 2015, OU has registered at least 500 yards of total offense 54 times. Next most nationally is 44, including 44 of the last 62 outings, and topped the 600-yard mark on 26 occasions. Similarly, OU has scored at least 30 points in 69 of 79 games since Riley's arrival. At least 40 points 50 times and at least 50 points 29 times. That's getting it done. That's picking them up and putting them down, right? Also add in there, Oklahoma had 684 yards of offense, damn near 700 yards of offense. They put up more than 600 yards on just 2 opponents in this 2020 season. One is Missouri State. One is number 7 Florida on a neutral field. That's phenomenal. And then take a look at what this could mean for Texas going into 21 and Oklahoma, because I believe that the sport is healthiest when Oklahoma and Texas are top 10 teams. And the Red River rivalry is not just for a spot in the Big 12 championship, but for a spot in the national championship. And it's going to take Oklahoma and Texas being good together for the Big 12 to vault into this conversation with the ACC, the Big 10, and of course the SEC as one of those teams that can win it. But this team has always looked loaded for bear in 21. To me, been saying that for 2 years. They looked the best that I had seen them look for years. Last night against Florida, it looked like 2017 Oklahoma. And that was so explosive that it was a John Woo film. I had so much fun watching those dudes play. I had even more fun just going at it last night late with the mic off because I was so amped. But those of y'all that have been around, OGs, understand, I sometimes forget to turn my own mic on. And usually those are pretty good videos. And I've heard some pretty good things. And I appreciate everybody who watched those. I also wanted to just talk about how Oklahoma's rhythm stayed true as well. Think about it this way. The Sooners had done an outstanding job getting off to a start, and then the third, fourth drive seemed like they kind of stalled. We saw a little bit of that against Florida. That is something that you'll watch in film, and I want to know what it is that either teams are picking up on Riley's offense or his play calling that allows for such a thing to happen. I hope that that gets figured out. Now the question becomes, who decides to return and who doesn't? Ronnie Perkins feels like a second, third round pick right now, like late second, early third round. If he comes back, perhaps he can vault into late first round, early second round. That's a hell of a decision, especially knowing that you put a lot of good on tape in just the few games that you were available to play this year. I also know that Ronnie Perkins loves playing defense, and he loves playing defense at Oklahoma, and he loves playing with those guys, so this is not going to be an easy decision for him. I'm sure they're trying to recruit him to come back in 21, not just to run it back, but to try to get a national championship. Ramondre Stevenson, according to an NFL vet that I love and talk with all the time, was an absolute pro. He looked like a pro. I said I still have some questions about him in pass protection. He said that's a learned trait. That's not what they do at Oklahoma. Matter of fact, he referenced Mike Martz saying those backs weren't necessarily blocking backs. They were really just release routes, right? They were just dump offs. That's part of the scheme, and I get that, but Ramondre Stevenson is such a big dude that if you can teach him to pass pro, I look at him the way that people looked at Michael Bush years ago for the throwback. That was my favorite tailback coming up, man. And if he could be that, especially learning to hold on to the ball this year as he had in these limited number of games that he played, he's going to be a force to reckon with. And I'm so excited for his future. I'm excited for Seth McGowan's future, Marcus Major's future. Maybe Oklahoma adds a running back since missing on Kamar Wheaton. But we'll see what it looks like going forward. You're going to have to do something at center. EJ Ndomo is transferred to Missouri. Creed Humphrey's going to go into the NFL draft. Perhaps you're looking at Andrew Raym to play that, who's super talented. So it's not as if you have to go to somewhere you've never been to. It is the same as saying Andrew Raym could be better than Creed Humphrey. And that's saying a lot because it wasn't too long ago that Kyler Murray was on the team and Lincoln Riley said the most talented football player on our team is Creed Humphrey. So those are going to be shoes to fill, even as he has not had the same sort of season that we expected him to. I say that, man's an All-American. All right, that is it for me. Deuces.